All right, Steve, we'll let you take the honors in looking back at Miami and 5 points on the board. And I heard a very curious comment from Justin Fields, and I certainly hope that it was meant in a certain context because I didn't hear it come out of his mouth. I saw it in writing in regards to the 5-0 deficit, and then making the comment that our coach has been preparing us. Ryan has been Coach Day has been preparing us the entire season for adversity, and when we met adversity, we were able to overcome it.
Well, there's adversity, then there's real adversity, and I just think that a lot of times the athletes get trapped into this situation where they get boxed into a corner by people who have agendas and are asking questions, and people are 76-5 game people are looking for any kind of a storyline to grasp onto. And to say you guys were in trouble, in the first quarter or whatever, I mean, I don't think anybody was all that concerned. I mean, basically, to start the game, Miami got 2 first downs, punted Ohio State down inside the 2-yard line. J.K. Dobbins ran for -1. Now the ball's on the 1-yard line, and Ryan Day, by his own admittance, got a little anxious, and he called a double move for the wide receiver that takes some time. They were taking a shot. They were trying to get the ball out to midfield on one play or go 99 yards in one play. By his own admission, with his quarterback standing in the middle of the end zone, it wasn't the right play call. J.K. Dobbins failed to pick up the blitz coming off the left edge, and the guy knocked the ball away from Justin Fields, and it was a safety. Now it's 2-0, and the defense let them drive 66 yards. They go down to the 5-yard line and kick a chip shot field goal, and it's 5-0. 7 minutes into the game, I don't think anybody was concerned that Ohio State wasn't going to win the game at that point. So he gets asked afterwards, this is the first real adversity you've faced, and he just tried to answer the question the best way he could. Said, they prepared us for these moments. Real adversity is coming. They're going to play a team with commensurate talent coming up. Just to put a bow on Miami, it was great that so many young players got to play in the game. None of the starters, or if any of them did, I didn't see it, played the second half. And 4 true freshmen scored touchdowns in this game, which may be some kind of a record. There was a game in 96 that I referenced, Pittsburgh with Wiley and Boston, were both true freshmen, and they may have combined for 4 touchdowns as 2 guys in that game. That's about the only other thing that I can think of that kind of relates to this, the number of touchdowns and the number of guys. So this was a positive game to get people some experience and get them out there in front of the lights. But we're 4 games into this thing, and the team truly hasn't been tested yet. But that's about to change coming up with Nebraska team. Again, they'll play in front of 85,000 people in prime time. And, again, Nebraska's not a top 10 team by any means. They're still not where they need to be defensively. But with Adrian Martinez, Ohio State found out last year, I think he threw for 250 and ran for another 70 or 80, and it accounted for like 3 or 4 touchdowns in that game, 36-31. So he's a formidable opponent, and we'll see if the Ohio State defense is for real.
Full disclosure here, for probably the first time in, I don't know, maybe 35 or 40 years, I did not watch the game live. I did not watch one play of the game on the DVR. It hit 3:30, and because of what I'm doing here, this is the first time this has ever happened. It hit 3:30, it hit 3:45, it was like 4:15, and it hit, like, I'm watching Texas A&M Auburn, I'm watching all these other games, then it actually hit me. Ohio State's playing. They didn't play at noon. That's right. I haven't even. They're playing right now, and I flip it on. It's 7-5. It was beautiful here. My boy and I went out for 2.5 hours, shot baskets, threw the football around. I DVR'd the game. We were driving home. I said, "What do you think the final score is?" And he's like, "They won by 24." And I said, "I guess they'll win by they won by 32." We saw the final score. I just didn't bring myself to go back and watch this thing. It's 77-5. Kevin, Tony, before we move on to more important matters, did you take anything away before, I see Tony's disappointment just written all over his face. Besides that, anything from this game?
Terrell Pryor would call you a fake Buckeye, and he would throw in a little expletive in there as well after what you just told us. I can't believe that. The adversity thing is, I think Ryan Day tried to give those guys some adversity by throwing deep from the 1 yard line, because the first play was a loss of 1 from the 2 yard line. So he's like, you know what? He says he wants to be aggressive. So he's like, well, let's throw in a post corner and see how it goes. And well, JK didn't quite do his job, and that's happened a couple times this year. And when you get up to this Miami game, when you can do whatever you want, sometimes you have to do some things that, let's make things a little bit more difficult than they need to be, because we know 2 points isn't going to win us or lose us this game. So I think that was a good thing. I actually like that play call, even though it ended up in disaster, because, eventually you're going to have to call that again. So this is a better opportunity than doing it in practice, and you can learn from it because it failed.
What do you say, Kevin? Anything from last week, or should we just dive into Nebraska?
Yeah, I was going to say, just because there's 76 points doesn't mean there's 76 takes from this game. I mean, it's a pretty thorough butt whipping, and I agree with everything that Steve and Tony both said there. It was great seeing the true freshman involvement there. They got a hell of a guy in Garrett Wilson, and Jameson Williams was very exciting when he caught his pass. And he, as soon as he caught it and I saw just a little bit of green grass, I remember leaning over to my interns and saying, he's gone. And he was. And then Marcus Crowley and Steele Chambers getting touchdowns as well. And the stakes are going to be much higher this week going to Lincoln. I know we're going to talk about that, but I think it was a good game. In terms of getting everybody some action. Nobody had more than 45 snaps, and that was on the defensive side. The offensive line played 32, and then they were able to bring in the second team line. So everybody's going to be going into this game pretty well rested in terms of not having a lot of fatigue from the last game, and they're going to need it because this could be a 4-quarter game.